Martin Luther King Jr. stands as a giant in the story of America. His legacy is one of courage, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to justice and equality. He challenged a nation to confront its deepest flaws, urging people to look beyond the color of their skin and see the content of their character. His speeches and actions were a clarion call for change, resonating across the country and around the world. Born in Atlanta, Georgia in 1929, King witnessed the harsh realities of segregation from a young age. Growing up in the South, he experienced firsthand the systemic racism that permeated every aspect of life, from schools and public transportation to restaurants and restrooms. The sting of separate but equal laws, the daily indignities, and the ever-present threat of violence left an indelible mark on him. These experiences were not just personal affronts, but a reflection of a society deeply divided by race. These experiences ignited a passion for justice that would define his life. King was determined to fight against the injustices he saw, not just for himself, but for all those who suffered under the yoke of oppression. King, a man of deep faith, found his calling in the pulpit. His sermons were not just religious discourses, but powerful messages of hope and resistance. He used his platform to speak out against the injustices of his time, blending his spiritual beliefs with his commitment to social change. He became a pastor, following in the footsteps of his father and grandfather. The church was a place of solace and strength, a community where people could come together to support one another and find the courage to fight for their rights. But his church was not confined to four walls. King saw a wider congregation in the millions of African Americans yearning for freedom and equality. He believed that the struggle for civil rights was a moral imperative, a cause that transcended race and religion. He saw a wider congregation in the millions of African Americans yearning for freedom and equality. His vision extended beyond the immediate struggles of his community to a broader quest for human dignity and justice. Through his leadership, he inspired a movement that would change the course of history. In 1955, Rosa Parks, an African-American woman, refused to give up her seat on a Montgomery, Alabama bus. This act of defiance sparked the Montgomery bus boycott. A young Martin Luther King Jr., thrust into a leadership role, found his voice. For 381 days, the African-American community in Montgomery refused to ride the buses. They endured intimidation, violence, and arrest. The boycott showcased the power of collective action and nonviolent resistance. It catapulted King onto the national stage. Here was a leader who spoke with eloquence and conviction, challenging the conscience of a nation. King's philosophy of nonviolent resistance drew inspiration from Mahatma Gandhi. He believed in confronting injustice with love and courage, not hate and violence. King understood that true power lay not in physical force, but in moral authority. This approach proved incredibly effective. By refusing to meet violence with violence, King and his followers exposed the brutality of segregation. The world watched in horror as peaceful protesters were met with police dogs and fire hoses. The stark contrast between the two sides swayed public opinion and put pressure on the government to act. On August 28, 1963, over 250,000 people gathered in Washington, D.C. They came from all corners of the country, united by a common purpose and a shared dream. The air was thick with anticipation and hope as people of all races, ages and backgrounds converged on the nation's capital. They were there for the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, a pivotal event in the civil rights movement. This march was not just a protest. It was a powerful statement demanding equality and justice for all. It was here that Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech. His voice echoed through the crowd, reaching the hearts of everyone present and millions more who watched on television. Standing in the shadow of the Lincoln Memorial, he painted a vivid picture of a nation where his children would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. His words were a call to action, a plea for a better, more just world. His words resonated deeply, capturing the hopes and aspirations of millions. The crowd was moved to tears and applause, their spirits lifted by the power of his vision. It was a moment of unity and shared purpose, a glimpse of what could be achieved through collective action. the speech became a defining moment in the civil rights movement. It was more than just words. It was a beacon of hope and a rallying cry for change. King's dream of equality and justice inspired countless individuals to join the fight for civil rights. It galvanized support for civil rights legislation and cemented King's place as a moral leader of unparalleled stature. His dream continues to inspire generations, reminding us that the fight for justice and equality is ongoing and that each of us has a role to play in making that dream a reality. The civil rights movement under King's leadership achieved significant legislative victories. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 outlawed discrimination based on race, colour, religion, sex, or national origin. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 aimed to overcome legal barriers that prevented African Americans from exercising their right to vote. These landmark acts were a testament to the power of King's message and the tireless efforts of countless activists. They represented significant steps towards a more just and equitable society. A legacy beyond borders. King's message of non-violence and equality resonated far beyond the borders of the United States. His teachings inspired movements for social change around the world. From the anti-apartheid struggle in South Africa to the fight for civil rights in Northern Ireland, King's philosophy provided a blueprint for peaceful resistance. He showed that ordinary people, armed with courage and conviction, could challenge even the most entrenched systems of oppression. His legacy continues to inspire activists and reformers worldwide who strive for a more just and equitable world. Echoes of King in the 21st century. Martin Luther King Jr. S. life was tragically cut short by an assassin's bullet in 1968. He was just 39 years old, yet his impact on the world was profound and far-reaching. His speeches, his writings, and his unwavering commitment to justice and equality have left an indelible mark on history. King's vision was not just for his time, but for all time. He dreamed of a world where people would be judged by the content of their character and not the color of their skin. His dream was a call to action, a challenge to society to rise above prejudice and hatred. But his dream lives on. In the 21st century, his message of equality, justice, and non-violence remains as relevant as ever. Today we see his influence in the ongoing fight for civil rights, in the voices of those who stand against oppression. Echoes of King's legacy can be seen in contemporary struggles for social justice. His teachings resonate in the chants of protesters, in the demands for equality, and in the unwavering spirit of those who refuse to accept injustice. His unwavering belief in the power of love, his commitment to non-violence, and his dream of a more just world continue to serve as a beacon of hope and inspiration. As we look to the future, we carry with us the lessons he taught, striving to build a world where justice and equality are not just dreams, but realities for all.